are welcoming what they call an independent review into all the circumstances around everything went on, all the actions and decisions. I would imagine that involves the police and you know, their part in this. But also they're putting their hands up and saying, you know, they've got questions that they should be answering as a football club. I'm sure that as part of that, you know, Celtic have got questions to answer. Rangers are saying, yep, we have to have this independent review. That's the key word in it, independent. And the actions, as I said, the way the game was policed, the initial decision to hand over a full 7,500 allocation, I'm sure that will come into it. I totally welcome it. I would like to have seen Rangers come out a little bit harder, a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit more condemnation for some of the scenes that we saw with their own supporters who took part in what happened on the pitch. But broadly speaking, it's an adult statement. It's unlike what previous statements we may have seen from previous Rangers boards. And the kind of main thrust and point of it is they are, you know, they would welcome an independent review of all the circumstances. And I think that's exactly what should happen. And I hope that we'll see something soon from Celtic agreeing to take part in something similar, because we can't have this. It was completely unacceptable and it can't happen again. So whatever mistakes were made along the way, let's get to the root of them. Let's work it out and let's make sure that these same mistakes aren't repeated. So broadly speaking, I think that's a good statement from Rangers. Positive.
What do you make of it, Mick, yourself?
Yeah, it looks like the SFA compliance officer has had one look at this and ran an absolute mile, because the SFA are the ones saying that they're going to commission this independent review into it all. And you know what, I understand it's probably too big. It's too big for the compliance officer to take on themselves. But yeah, it needs it, because there's a lot of things went wrong, a lot of bad behaviour, a lot of mismanagement in terms of the police and the stewarding. So that does need to have a proper look at it. Then your statement, yeah, I did. I'm getting a sense that there's kind of adults in the room at Rangers these days. I think, I mean, they're saying they're condemning the disorder, but it didn't actually. What are they condemning? It's a bit vague. I mean, a bit like he's saying there. I mean, they could say, listen, we're going to look at our own house as well. We're not happy what happened with the other side, but we have to clear our own shop as well. But again, there's also police investigations on the go, and they can't prejudice that as well. So it's an awkward one for them. And they've given fans the reassurance that they're going to defend the club whether they can do. In there, I think there is a warning to certain groups of Rangers fans that they're going to get in trouble, and they're going to get their collars felt, their palms wrapped, their bodies smacked, you name it. And I think that's because I say that Rangers have got some serious owners in charge now. Invested serious money. They don't need any kind of negativity like this derailing their grand plans for the club. So I think they will. I say they've got to be kind of careful. They're not going to go and admit liability on their club's behalf for everything right away, while there's police investigations that would jeopardise certain cases. As we know, there's guys that were lifted for their behaviour on the day. But yeah, reading between the lines, I get there's going to be action within. And yet they've told the rest of the support who, listen, all week we've had the whataboutery. One side saying that lot are worse than this lot, and this lot are worse than that lot. That wouldn't happen if that happened. That happened because of that happened. The thing, but they all do the same thing. They all go, yeah, our guys did A, B, C, D, but they did that.
Yeah.
And see, take away that. Deal with your own A, B, C, D, E as well. You need to deal with that as well as pointing out that. So the clubs need to get their houses in order and deal with their own problems without going, they're worse than us. Look at them, they're worse than us. That doesn't help MD. So independent review might help it. But these things, we've seen it before. I mean, the SFA independent review, if it doesn't fall in a certain way that certain fans like what they read, because they only choose to read what they want, they'll say the SFA are against us as well. And if the cops come in and say that, say, well, the cops are against us as well. So, listen, this is the welcome to the wacky world of the old firm, where there's no black and white, there's green and blue, and that's about it.
Yeah, I said last night, Mick, we've now got a situation where you've got Celtic fans blaming the cops and blaming Rangers. You've got Rangers fans blaming Celtic fans and blaming the cops. And you've got the cops blaming Rangers fans and Celtic fans. And nobody in this whole picture has been grown up enough yet to put their hands up and say, by the way, we were out of order. We've got to share the responsibility, and we've got to make sure that our behaviour is better. And I think by having an independent review, hopefully, it bangs a few heads together, albeit metaphorically speaking, and we can get to the root of where it all went wrong, why it all went wrong, and what we need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. But I'm with you, Mick. I will be astonished and very disappointed if Rangers don't take their own internal action, and I expect it to be quite heavy on the ultras and the Union Bears, who were quite clearly, and they weren't trying to hide it, they were hiding their face under these silly masks, but they're very easily identifiable as to what section of the ground that was. And they were the vast majority of the Rangers supporters that took to the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have a really difficult period trying to make sure that their group stays in place and stays intact inside that stadium, because you just had to see the look on Andrew Kavanagh's face as he was standing there in the director's box watching that all unfold. He looked aghast. He looked horrified. And as we said, American sport is very different. And the Americans like to invest in football in the UK because of all these other things. But, it's not American sport. There is rivalry, there's passion, there's all this other stuff that I think fascinates the Americans. But at the same time, you have to remember that these people come from a sporting background where it's families that go to a sporting occasion, and it's barbecues in the car park and cold Budweisers, and everybody gets along. And by the end of the day, once you've packed up and went home, nobody can really remember what the score was anyway, whatever it was. Sometimes not even what sport it was they were there to watch. So they come at it from a very different position, and I don't think they will show a tolerance to the extreme behaviour that they witnessed, whether that was from the visiting Celtic fans or from their own.
Yeah, and they'll also listen. You're right. That the section of ultras will come under the spotlight. There's also two grown men who ran on and were grappling with Celtic staff and trying to pick Celtic players. I mean, these guys are now in the long arm of the law. So these are guys.
That's a matter for the judicial process.
Yeah, guys in their 40s and 50s involved.
That's ridiculous.
So can they swept under the carpet, this kind of stuff?
No. But the statement says there. I only had a quick read through it before we come on, but I'm sure the statement refers to the judicial process is now in order, and then anybody found guilty of anything, and you're the ones that specifically you're talking about, Mick, they come in. Now, how easy is it going to be for the police to actually identify the ultras? The ones that you're talking about, the ones that are now part of the judicial process, well, they've already been identified. Police know who they are, the courts know who they are, Rangers know who they are. And it's the easiest thing in the world then, if found guilty, to punish with whatever stadium ban or revoking season ticket, whatever it is that the club decides, whatever measure it is that they decide to take. That's simple enough. What's not so simple is, can these masked idiots be properly identified? Can they be put through the same rigorous legal process? And if that can't happen, then Rangers, if brilliant, by the way, if there's 100 of them that all go through the process, and that makes it really easy. If they can't be identified, if they don't all go through the courts, then Rangers have got a decision to make on a broader basis on what do we do with this group and that section of the stadium.